The most common way insurance agents lose money on ads is not bad creative or wrong audience. It's wrong expectations. They put a few $100s in, expect a flood of closed policies in 2 weeks, and when it doesn't show up, they kill the campaign and decide ads don't work. The truth is that ads work fine. The expectations were wrong from day one. This training is about setting an ad budget that gives the system a real chance to produce, understanding what success actually looks like at each stage of the funnel, and knowing when to scale, when to hold, and when to walk away. By the end, you'll have a budget framework, a benchmark for cost per acquisition by product line, and the patience to let the math work. Here's the foundational number to start with. The Small Business Administration and most marketing studies put healthy marketing spend at 7 to 8% of revenue for businesses operating on standard margins. Insurance industry data tracks closely with that. Insurance agents typically spend between 3 and 8% of their revenue on marketing, with growing agencies on the higher end of that range and mature agencies on the lower end. So if your agency is doing $500,000 a year in revenue, your annual marketing budget should sit between $15,000 and $40,000. Call it $25,000 as a midpoint, roughly $2,000 a month. If you're growing aggressively, push higher. If you're preserving cost, hold lower. But the floor exists for a reason. Below a certain spend level, your campaigns cannot collect enough data for the algorithms to optimize, and you spend money without reaching the threshold where the system starts working for you. The fear that holds most agents back is putting real money into something they can't see results from in the first week. That fear is correct in the short term and wrong in the long term. Ads do not produce policies in week 1. They produce data in week 1. Policies in week 3. Compounding returns in months 2 and 3, as the algorithm learns who your real buyers look like. Let's talk about the metric that actually matters. It's not cost per click, it's not cost per lead, it's cost per acquisition. The total amount you spend to produce one closed policy. Cost per click and cost per lead are useful diagnostic numbers, but they cannot tell you whether you're making money. Only cost per acquisition can. Here are the typical cost per acquisition ranges you should expect across product lines. Medicare Advantage, $150 to $400 per acquisition. ACA health insurance, $100 to $300. Final expense, $60 to $180. Term life, $80 to $200. These ranges hold across most paid channels combined together once the system is mature. Now compare those numbers to first-year commissions. Medicare Advantage typically pays $250 to $600 in year 1, then renews. ACA, first-year commission, ranges from $150 to $400. Final expense pays $400 to $1,200 upfront. Term life pays $300 to $1,500 plus, depending on premium. You can see the math. For most insurance product lines, you can break even or come close to break even on the first-year sale, then earn pure profit on every renewal year after that. Medicare Advantage and ACA might take 12 to 24 months to fully break even on acquisition spend. Final expense, term life, and home insurance often break even in the first month. Knowing which product line you're working with tells you how patient your budget needs to be. Here's the budget framework for a growing agency. 3 layers, each with a clear purpose. Layer 1 is the testing budget, $500 to $1,000 per month per new campaign you're running. The purpose of this money is not to produce policies. The purpose is to collect data. You're learning which audiences respond, which creative performs, and which offer converts. Expect cost per acquisition to be all over the map during this phase, sometimes painfully high. The first 30 days of any new campaign is tuition. Layer 2 is the proven scale budget. Once a campaign has produced a stable cost per lead and a clear path to acquisition, you scale it. $2,000 to $10,000 a month or more per campaign, depending on how much capacity your producers have to work the leads. The purpose of this money is to produce closed business at a known cost. You don't change the campaign during this phase. You feed it. Layer 3 is the always-on budget. Your lowest cost per acquisition campaigns, typically retargeting and lookalike audiences trained on closed business, get a small permanent budget running every day, couple hundred a month each, enough to keep data flowing. These become the foundation of your pipeline. The total spend across all 3 layers is what hits your monthly marketing budget. A small agency just starting will run 2 or 3 campaigns at the testing layer for a couple thousand a month. A growing agency will run 1 or 2 at scale and 3 or 4 in testing for $5,000 to $10,000 a month. A mature agency may run a dozen always-on campaigns plus active testing for $15,000 or more. The point is to think in terms of campaign portfolio, not single ad spend. Most agents are trying to run one campaign and judge the entire channel by its performance. That's why most of them give up. Now, timeline expectations. This is where most agents lose patience and kill working campaigns prematurely. Days 1 through 14 are the learning phase. Meta and Google both need roughly 50 conversions inside an ad set before the algorithm stabilizes. Cost per lead during this period swings dramatically. You'll see leads at $6 one day and $40 the next. This is normal. This is not a broken campaign. This is the system collecting baseline data on who responds. Days 15 through 45 are the optimization phase. The algorithm has enough data to find your audience consistently. Cost per lead settles into a stable range. Your producers have started working the leads, and the first round of closed business is hitting the books. Cost per acquisition becomes measurable for the first time, but it's still noisy. Days 45 through 90 are the proof phase. You now have enough closed business to calculate cost per acquisition with real confidence. You can compare it against the break-even benchmarks for your product line. Campaigns that beat the benchmark get scaled. Campaigns that match it get held. Campaigns that miss it get rebuilt or killed. Day 90 onward is the scale phase. The math is known. The system is working. The job becomes spending more money efficiently against the campaigns you've already proven while continuing to test new ones in parallel. This is the stage every agent wants to reach. The only path there is through the previous 3. Let me walk you through real numbers for a Medicare agent. You start with a $2,000 monthly Facebook budget, cold prospecting campaign targeting a lookalike audience. The first month produces 40 leads at $50 per lead. You close 4 of them, so cost per acquisition is $500. That's higher than the benchmark range, and you're tempted to quit. You don't quit, you feed the system. Month 2, your cost per lead drops to $30 because the algorithm has dialed in. You produce 67 leads, close 8 of them. Cost per acquisition is now $250, comfortably inside the benchmark range. Year 1 commission on those 8 clients pays for the first 2 months of spend with money to spare, and every renewal year is pure margin. Month 3, you stop testing on this campaign and you scale the budget to $3,000. Lead volume grows proportionally, cost per lead holds steady, close rate holds steady, and you've added a 4th producer's worth of conversations to the pipeline. That's how this channel actually works. Not in week 1, not in month 1. By month 3, 2 mistakes to avoid. First, do not judge a campaign by cost per click or cost per lead alone. Both numbers can be lying to you about whether the system is profitable. Only cost per acquisition tells you whether you're making money, and you cannot calculate it accurately until you have at least 30 to 60 days of closed business data feeding back into the system. Second, do not move budget around every week. Each time you change a campaign's budget significantly, you reset Meta's learning phase, and the algorithm has to start over. Set the budget, let it run. Adjust monthly, not weekly. The agencies that fiddle constantly produce worse results than the agencies that set a plan and hold. Here's your action step. This week, write down 3 numbers: your monthly revenue, your target marketing percentage between 3 and 8%, your monthly ad budget. Then break that ad budget into the 3 layers we just discussed. Testing, scale, always on. Assign a dollar amount to each. If you don't have proven campaigns yet, all of your budget is testing for the next 90 days, and that's okay. Then, before you launch anything, write down the cost per acquisition benchmark for your primary product line. Tape it to your monitor. That number is your scoreboard for the next 90 days. Not cost per click, not cost per lead. Cost per acquisition. The agencies that win this channel set the right expectation up front and have the patience to let the math finish the work.